What's up YouTube? Now today we've got this nice World War I German mortar round. As you can see, this is in pretty good condition. The aluminium fins are all intact and there is pretty much no bending or no dents, no damage. All the rivets are still in place and obviously the charge projectile area is all in good condition. Now this is the 1916 pattern German mortar round. And it's quite rare to find one in this condition, to be totally honest. The maker's mark is still in the aluminium. You can sort of just see that there, and that is the Reincht Messerwaren Fabrik of Dortmund, and it's the 1916 pattern, which I said before. It's actually pretty heavy. This steel body is actually pretty thick, and it's got the grooves for fragmentation, obviously, and it's also got the detonator on the end. So starting with the fins, I'm just going to start to unscrew. The fins are a key point in this. This would have been fired by a projectile in the mortar round. Now how do we know it's fired by a projectile in the mortar round rather than a projectile that would have been put in there similar to a shotgun shell? Well, first of all, there's no gas escape holes in the actual neck of the fins. Now if you just look over to the 81mm mortar there that's over in the corner, I'm just going to zoom in. You can clearly see there the holes on the neck. They clearly show the gas escape holes. That's because the charge would have been put in the bottom, fired, it escaped out of there. So obviously this one is not, and that just proves it. That's just one method of finding out. You can easily see the machine marks on the side there, the two flat sides. This would have been used to actually screw the shell together, or the two components together, back in when it was put together in the first place. Okay, so you can see this clear bit. This is the solid aluminium end. This is just basically to keep the whole thing together, so when you fire it and you get projectile pushing in there, it doesn't just blow the end off and then explode the shell before it's even got out the end of the barrel of the mortar round. This was nicknamed the priest mortar because the Germans, when they fired this, they had to be kneeling down, and it looked like they were praying slightly, so it was named the priest mortar. Obviously you can see the threads in there are really nice, and this whole body is pretty well preserved. It's nice and shiny, and there's not really much rust, and it's quite rare to find one with so little damage and in such a nice condition. And I'm just unscrewing the detonator now. You can see where the pull pin, it would have had like a grenade pull pin, you can clearly see through there. This would have had like a cap that goes over, that went over the complete lot. Would have had a hole in it. You push the pin over the cap, and before you would fire it, you'd pull the pin, lift the cap off, and then lower it down into the gun and fire. The detonator would have worked on a spring, which would have been sort of wrapped around there, because when this is actually in and you unscrew it, there is a bit of play, so it would have just, when it hit the ground, it would have just gone in, you know, just closed the gap and set the ignition off. And just again on there, you can see the two machine marks on either side where it would have been screwed into the actual mortar before it's sent out to the front. And the body, you can clearly see this is 1916 pattern, back in the World War I days when they were making these things as fast as they possibly could. The centre of the circle isn't actually in the centre. You can see it's offset by quite a bit. That's just as a result of quick casting, and the casts actually got a bit old and damaged just because they were the sheer number that they were producing really throughout every single day, because they were making thousands and thousands of these and just sending them off to the front line. So naturally all the moulds and casts were going to be varied on the condition when they were finished. You can see where it's been cast. There's a nice split line going all the way up that side. There's also the other one on the opposite side, so it's been a two-part mould. This probably would have been moulded in a type of steel or probably clay. They just set it in the clay and then mould the steel in there. Threads would have been put in on a lathe on either side, and apart from that, all of it would have been set in a lathe. The aluminium would probably just be cast, and the sheet aluminium would be cut, shaped, and then just riveted in. You can still see the rivets there, like I said earlier. Other than that, there's not really a lot to it. If I just screw it together, again, I will compare the two sizes to an 81mm mortar of World War II, just so you can see how these mortars have actually developed in about 20 to 30 years time, from 1916 to like 1940 odd. It's quite a nice development. So if we just move these two closer, you'll notice that the 81mm is slightly larger, but that's to be expected because it's a larger mortar round. The fuses have changed from Bakelite, or from steel rather, to Bakelite, and it's just become a more streamlined shape in general, as this World War I mortar round is pretty flat on the front other than the actual detonator, as the Russian 81mm mortar is more curved and far more streamlined. And in the background as well, you can see the Mills grenade I've got. I'm going to be doing more videos on this World War I number 5 Mills. I'm going to keep a video up of that hopefully soon, in the next few weeks. I've just got quite a few things to video lately, so keep a lookout, and thanks for watching.